What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingthepoised.com. Hope all is well over you. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited because it is time to continue our training camp preview series here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Please make sure you do subscribe. We've been rolling through each and every position group on the Cowboys, dissecting what they have to work with, kind of anticipating what it's going to look like throughout camp, kind of figuring out who's going to make the roster, who might be on the bubble, etc., etc. And today is a very interesting one. Today we are looking at the state of the linebackers on the Dallas Cowboys. I know that when we talked about the defensive ends and the defensive line as a whole, there were some people upset that we didn't get to Micah Parsons. Again, we're going off of the way that DallasCowboys.com classifies these people, classifies these players, and obviously Micah Parsons is classified as a linebacker across the entire NFL. But it is obviously this position group comes down to Micah Parsons and how great, how spectacular he can continue to be in his second season in the NFL. So let's go ahead and get to it. These are all of the linebackers on the Dallas Cowboys roster at the moment, and there's actually been a change to this over the last couple of days as I put this together. You'll see Christian Sam there has the new veteran designation, was signed to the Cowboys roster actually on Friday, July the 8th. And so the newest member of the Dallas Cowboys, in fact, Stephen Jones said all the way back on April 19th that the Dallas Cowboys were not done in free agency. Well, Stephen is a man of his word, people, because since then the Dallas Cowboys have signed two players, kicker Lireem Hairulahu, who was actually on the roster last year, so not technically a free agent, but Christian Sam. Christian Sam represents the Cowboys bringing in a new player, somebody who was not on their roster last year, a sixth-round pick of the New England Patriots back in 2018, now joins the Cowboys and this linebacker crew that is, of course, headed by Micah Parsons. But Leighton Vander Esch there, the Cowboys were able to bring him back on a one-year deal. They did not pick up his fifth-year option a year ago, which he would be playing on this season had they done so. That figure, I think that's an important part of this conversation, would have been about $9 million for Leighton here in 2022. Well, they wound up getting him back for about $3 million. And so a lot of people, come at me and say, well, look, RJ, the Cowboys, it worked out. They got Leighton for cheaper. Yeah, that's true. They did get him for cheaper, but he's not the player that we thought he was going to be during his rookie season. And so after that, though, and I say this with all due respect, the Cowboys are not working with a lot. We're going to talk about three players specifically. I've already mentioned two of them. So let's go ahead and kind of set the stage here, because the linebacker group on the Cowboys has been through a lot of change, right, over the last 7-8 years, right? Sean Lee has kind of been at the heart, or was kind of at the heart of what the Cowboys were doing from a linebacker standpoint. We were always rooting for Sean Lee and Bruce Carter to kind of be the duo right there in the middle. Then it became Sean Lee and Rolando McClain. That never really, materialized. And then it became, Sean Lee and Jalen Smith. And it became Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch. And this time last year, we were actually talking about a Cowboys roster that featured Jalen Smith, although obviously a lot of things have changed since then. So now we're talking about Micah Parsons is just kind of the lion in the jungle, and everybody else is part of the animal kingdom that surrounds him. Leighton Vander Esch is an important part of the mix here, and we'll get to him in a moment. But let's start, of course, with Micah Parsons, the reigning NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. You can make an argument that he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. You can make an argument that he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. The fact that he is on this team, the fact that he is on this defense, the fact that he is in this position group automatically makes them an A. Wherever Micah Parsons is, however Micah Parsons is, things are going to be okay there. We trust that. Now, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of discussion. You've heard it from me. You've heard it from all of our BTBers about natural regression to the mean for Micah Parsons, for the Cowboys defense as a whole. And I think that that's fair. I think we have to, if we're talking about expectations, if we're talking about how we're feeling about this group and what we can sort of expect to see throughout camp, I think it's fair to expect some regression to the mean. It's possible that Micah Parsons is not a Super Saiyan, superhuman, supernova sort of player in 2022. Obviously, it's also possible that he elevates his game, that he becomes even better, that he's just on this insane, never-before-seen trajectory towards the Hall of Fame and football greatness. That is all equally possible. However, the overwhelming likelihood is that we see some sort of regression to the mean from a production standpoint. That doesn't mean that he can't continue to evolve. It's important for Micah Parsons that Dan Quinn is sticking around, obviously, as his defensive coordinator. That was a big part of his success as a rookie. And so I think that we can trust this element, this part of the defense, wherever Micah Parsons is, whether that's at linebacker, at pass rusher, if he's in the secondary, doing whatever the hell he wants to do, we can trust that that is safe. We can trust that the floor in that spot is inordinately high. So Micah Parsons gives us that to kind of hold on to. And there really is no need to dive that much deeper into this because Micah Parsons is exceptional. Micah Parsons is an answer. He is just a just I don't even know. I was going to say get it a jail free card, but he is a card that you can play at any moment, at any time, in any game, and you are going to win that round because you have Micah Parsons. You don't have that with a lot of football players, but Micah Parsons is truly that special. But after that is where things are a little bit concerning, right? We've said that the position group as a whole is an A because you have Micah Parsons. Okay, but what if there is some regression to the mean? What if NFL offenses and NFL coaches are paying a little bit more attention to Micah Parsons? What if they're not willing to kind of do the things that we saw teams and offenses doing a year ago? What if things change, right? That's natural. That's fair to expect on one hand as well. Well, you need other linebackers, the rest of your team, the rest of your defense to kind of carry you, where Micah may be more limited in 2022. So that takes us to Leighton Vander Esch, because Leighton Vander Esch has to be that player. We know that the Cowboys have not signed another linebacker. Obviously, Christian Sam is technically a veteran signing, but they chose not to sign Bobby Wagner. And I think we would be sitting here and feeling great had they done so. Right? I would be feeling like the Cowboys had some stability at linebacker for whenever Micah Parsons is floating around. But when Micah is floating around, you don't have that. You have Leighton Vander Esch. He is your answer, right? Like to kind of set the stage here, all the things we said about Micah Parsons, how he is the answer, et cetera, that is who Leighton Vander Esch has to be when Micah Parsons is not playing linebacker, and we know that is at least part of the time. And Leighton Vander Esch, I think, he played well last year, right? It was a difficult year for Leighton Vander Esch when you consider that the Cowboys did not pick up his fifth-year option. It became a contract year, and the fact that happened just 2 days or 3 days, whatever it was, right after the team drafted Micah Parsons in the first round with the 12th overall pick. So a lot of awkward energy surrounding the position, and again, the fact that Leighton had to watch Jalen Smith, be released by the team, a clear sign that things were changing. But Leighton Vander Esch, again, I think played moderately well for the Cowboys in 2021. But when you look at his career as a whole, this is where I think we start to get concerned. It was a bit of an aberration that Leighton Vander Esch played all 17 games last year. I think we forget that, right? I don't know. Maybe you did forget that. Maybe you forgot before I told you right now. But if you look at that, 2021, Leighton Vander Esch played every single game for the Dallas Cowboys in 2021. Now, a big reason why, and I'm not in any way trying to regret the Micah Parsons pick. Believe me, I'm thrilled that was obviously what happened to the Cowboys a year and some change ago. But a big reason, a big, kind of way we justified the Micah Parsons pick was, well, you can't trust Leighton Vander Esch. And then we had all these arguments and discussions then, right? Well, the Cowboys shouldn't have drafted him in the first round in 2018. But, at that point, it's why you crying over spilled milk sort of stuff. But the point is, Leighton Vander Esch, when all the signs were pointing towards his career with the Cowboys being over, played every single game, was highly, productive, relatively speaking, and, played well enough that they wanted him back on a one-year deal. Great. But look at the seasons before that. In 2020, only played 10 games. That was obviously an issue in what led to the drafting of Micah Parsons, as mentioned. In 2019, if I could finally get my words together here, only played 9 games. He played 19 games. Okay, 19 games over 2 seasons, 2019 and 2020. He almost matched that total in 2021. And so my question to you, and I'll ask it point blank, straight up, no hiding it or anything. What happens if Leighton Vander Esch is hurt at some point in 2022? We sit here and we talk about Micah Parsons, what happens if he's hurt or he's out, whatever the case may be, who's going to lift, who's going to be the center, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But what happens if Leighton Vander Esch is out? I'm going to put the roster back up here for you again. You've got Micah Parsons. Awesome. But pretend that Leighton Vander Esch's name isn't there. Who do you trust? Who do you trust? Because Damone Clark at the very top of that list, you can basically kind of redshirt him for 2023. So now you're down another player, okay? And look, Devontae Bond was on this list, but the Cowboys placed him on injured reserve, so maybe you factor that in at some point. But still, you're talking about a group then of Jabril Cox, Luke Gifford, who's mostly special teams player, Aaron Hansford, Devin Harper, Story Jackson, and Christian Sam. That's it. You don't have much going on if and when Leighton Vander Esch does miss time in 2022. I thought there was a great point that was brought up by Tony Catalina on one of our podcasts here at Blog of the Boys, First and 10. Tony talked about how this Cowboys team in 2022 has so many ifs, if this happens, everything's going to work out right. And you can always kind of find an if at every single position, right? If this happens, if this player stays healthy, if this doesn't fall apart, then it's going to be okay. This is a big if. This is a massive if. The Cowboys are trusting Leighton Vander Esch's health to a large degree. Is it to the same degree that they were trusting it in 2019 and 2020 when he was the heart of their defense? No, of course not, because they have Micah Parsons and he exists now. But the fact remains that Micah will float around. Micah will not be a linebacker 100% of the time. That's not to say he'll be a linebacker 1% of the time, but you get my point that if Leighton Vander Esch is out for any portion of time, it could be a difficult situation for the Cowboys in the middle of their defense. But they do have Jabril Cox, who's the final player we're going to focus on a little bit here today. Obviously, fantastic start to his career last year before getting hurt. I think we all are very excited about him, but now you're counting on him coming back from injury. That's one of those ifs that we're talking about, right? If Leighton Vander Esch stays healthy, if Jabril Cox comes back from his injury, these are big ifs. That's not to say that we're trying to be Eeyore and cast negative doom and gloom, cloudy natures here, but those are things that have to be said out loud and have to be talked about out loud. And if Jabril Cox can take a step, then yeah, now you've given Micah Parsons a true, tried and true running mate for the future in the middle of the defense, with Damone Clark hopefully coming in 2023 as mentioned. And that's, he does represent, Jabril Cox, that is, a potential wild card. And you can make an argument that maybe the Cowboys did not sign Bobby Wagner, maybe they did not sign whoever, not because they're cheap, not because they don't care, although those are different arguments and conversations to have a different day, but because of the belief that they have in Jabril Cox specifically. That is definitely the optimistic point of view when it comes to this position group. Overall, again, I think that you have to say that the Cowboys linebackers are an A. They are an A+ because Micah Parsons is a part of the group. But we know that this is professional football. We know that one play, one moment can change things in a massive direction. I mean, think about it, right? We've talked about this group in many different ways as being a strength of the team over the last 7-8 years, like I mentioned, with different people at the heart of it, right? Think about a year ago, we were talking about the Cowboys wide receivers, and I know we already profiled them here on the training camp series, but I mean, we were talking a year ago, man, the Cowboys receivers, they're set for a while. They're set for the foreseeable future. They're good. I mean, this group is taken care of. And now we have all these questions and this doubt about the position. Things happen and things change very quickly in the NFL. And so if something were to happen at the top of the linebacking core, I guess that's where I ultimately want to kind of end this, is the Cowboys linebackers, we love them because of Micah Parsons. We believe in Jabril Cox. Hopefully Leighton Vander Esch can stay healthy in 2022, but it's very, very top heavy. If something happens to one of those three, particularly to obviously the top two in Micah Parsons and Leighton Vander Esch, then all of a sudden you're having to make lemonade with some very weird, very strange, and maybe not necessarily tasty looking lemons, if the analogy fits. But anyway, up next in the training camp preview series, we've been going offense, defense. We're going a different direction. We're going to talk specialists coming up next. We got kicker, punter, long snapper. I promise it's going to be entertaining. At least I'm going to try to make it that way. So, but Cowboys linebackers, what do you think? Let me know. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on TikTok at rj.ochoa. If email is more your thing, and hit me up rj.ochoa@sbnation.com, or you can always leave me a comment down below. We'll get to those as well. We got about less than 3 weeks to go until training camp. That's really exciting. So hopefully it goes by quickly. That's really all I have to say. But thanks so much for hanging out with us, everybody. We'll see you next time, and have a great day. Thanks a lot.